The kingdom of Israel was in turmoil. The once glorious land, known for its prosperity and divine favor, was now a shadow of its former self. The people who had once walked in the light of their faith were now lost in a maze of confusion and despair. Years of bloodshed and idolatry had plunged the nation into darkness. The echoes of countless battles reverberated through the land, and the cries of the fallen seemed to linger in the air. The sacred temples were desecrated, and the altars, once places of worship, were now sites of pagan rituals. King Baasha, a wicked ruler who had led the people astray, was now dead. His reign had been marked by cruelty and corruption, and his death brought a brief, uneasy silence to the kingdom. The throne, once a symbol of justice and power, now stood empty, a stark reminder of the chaos that had engulfed the land. His son, Elah, took the throne. Elah, young and inexperienced, was thrust into a position of immense responsibility. The weight of the crown was heavy on his head, and the eyes of the nation were upon him, hoping for a savior but fearing another tyrant. But Elah was a weak and foolish king, more interested in pleasure than in leading his people. He indulged in lavish feasts and surrounded himself with sycophants, ignoring the cries of his suffering subjects. The palace, once a place of governance, had become a den of decadence. The seeds of rebellion were sown. In the dark corners of the kingdom, whispers of dissent grew louder. Discontented nobles and ambitious generals began to plot, seeking to overthrow the inept ruler and seize power for themselves. In the shadows, ambitious eyes watched, waiting for the right moment to strike. These conspirators, driven by greed and a lust for power, knew that the kingdom was vulnerable. They bided their time, sharpening their blades and preparing for the inevitable coup. The kingdom was ripe for the taking. The strategic locations, once fortified and secure, were now weak and exposed. The cities, bustling with life, were now filled with fear and uncertainty. The stage was set for a dramatic and bloody power struggle. The stench of blood and betrayal hung heavy in the air. Trust was a rare commodity, and alliances were fragile. Betrayal lurked around every corner, and the once united kingdom was now a fractured land of suspicion and treachery. This was a time of uncertainty and fear. The common people, caught in the crossfire of political machinations, lived in constant dread. The marketplace, once a place of commerce and community, was now a hotbed of rumors and paranoia. The kingdom of Israel stood on the brink of collapse, its future hanging by a thread. Elah, oblivious to the danger lurking around him, indulged in a drunken feast. He surrounded himself with sycophants and revelers, drowning his responsibilities in wine. He cared little for the plight of his people, his mind clouded by intoxication. In the king's drunken stupor, danger approached unseen. Zimri, a cunning and ambitious military commander, saw his opportunity. He was a man of action, ruthless and ambitious, hungry for power. This was his moment. Zimri, with a small band of loyal soldiers, stormed the palace. The night was dark, and the air was thick with tension. The clashing of swords and the cries of battle echoed through the ancient halls as Zimri's men fought their way through the fortified building. Each step they took was a step closer to their ultimate goal, the throne. Elah, too drunk to defend himself, was cut down without mercy. He had been celebrating, unaware of the impending doom that awaited him. His guards, caught off guard and unprepared, fell quickly to Zimri's ruthless assault. The king's life ended in a pool of blood, his reign cut short in a brutal and swift coup. His reign, brief and unremarkable, was over. The throne room, once a symbol of power and authority, now stood empty and silent. The echoes of the battle still lingered in the air, a haunting reminder of the violence that had just occurred. The fallen king lay lifeless, his dreams of grandeur shattered. The palace ran red with the blood of the king and his guards. The once pristine floors were now stained with the crimson evidence of the night's events. Bodies of loyal guards lay scattered, their lives taken in the blink of an eye. The aftermath of the battle was a grim testament to Zimri's determination and ruthlessness. Zimri, his hands stained with blood, wasted no time in consolidating his power. He moved swiftly, issuing orders and securing his position as the new ruler. His eyes gleamed with ambition as he took his place on the throne, a symbol of his newfound authority. The palace now under his control was the first step in his grand plan. He was a man on a mission, driven by a lust for power that knew no bounds. His mind raced with thoughts of conquest and domination. Every decision he made was calculated, every move strategic. Zimri's ambition was a fire that burned brightly, fueling his every action. He knew that to maintain his grip on power, he had to act decisively and without hesitation. His first act was to eliminate any potential rivals. He understood that his position was precarious and any threat to his rule had to be dealt with swiftly. Zimri's orders were clear: no mercy, no exceptions. His soldiers carried out his commands with brutal efficiency, rounding up those who posed a threat to his reign. He ordered the execution of all of Baasha's descendants and supporters, a brutal act of genocide that sent shockwaves through the kingdom. The scale of the massacre was unprecedented, and the kingdom was left reeling from the sheer brutality of Zimri's actions. Fear and uncertainty gripped the land as the new ruler's iron fist tightened its hold. The usurper's throne was now secure, but at a cost that would haunt the kingdom for generations to come. The prophet Jehu, years before, had foretold the extermination of Baasha's house. Now, through Zimri's bloody actions, the prophecy was fulfilled. The stench of death hung heavy in the air, a grim reminder of the price of sin. The people, accustomed to violence, were nonetheless horrified by the scale of Zimri's brutality. Whispers of his ruthlessness spread like wildfire, but Zimri, consumed by his newfound power, ignored the murmurings of discontent. He had seized the throne and he would hold it at any cost. However, Zimri's reign was short-lived. News of the coup reached the Israelite army, who were at that time besieging the Philistine city of Gibbethon. They proclaimed their commander, Omri, as the rightful king. Omri, a seasoned general, was a formidable opponent. He abandoned the siege of Gibbethon and marched on Tirzah, the capital of Israel, with his entire army. Zimri was trapped, his back against the wall. Omri's army surrounded Tirzah, cutting off all escape routes. Zimri, once a proud and defiant warrior, was now a prisoner in his own palace. His few remaining supporters began to desert him, sensing the inevitable. The siege wore on. Days turned into nights, and still Omri's forces pressed their attack. Zimri, isolated and alone, watched from the palace walls as his kingdom crumbled around him. Despair gnawed at his sanity. In a final act of desperation, Zimri retreated to the inner chambers of the palace. He gathered all his treasures, all the trappings of his short-lived reign, and set them ablaze. And then, as the flames roared around him, consuming everything he had seized, Zimri took his own life. The smoke from the inferno rose high above the city, a beacon visible for miles around. It was a pyre to vanity, a testament to the fleeting nature of power gained through bloodshed and treachery. Zimri's fiery end sent shockwaves through Israel. The flames that consumed his palace were not just a physical manifestation of his downfall, but a symbol of the chaos and destruction his short reign had brought upon the land. The people of Israel, already weary from years of turmoil, watched in horror as the consequences of Zimri's ambition unfolded before their eyes. He had ruled for a mere 7 days, his name forever etched in history as a usurper and a tyrant. His brief grasp on power was marked by treachery and bloodshed, a stark contrast to the ideals of justice and righteousness that the kingdom so desperately needed. Zimri's ascent to the throne was a tale of betrayal, as he seized power through deceit and murder, only to find that his ill-gotten gains were as fleeting as the wind. His story served as a stark reminder of the wages of sin, the inevitable consequences of choosing ambition and power over righteousness and justice. The ruins of his palace stood as a testament to the futility of his quest for dominance, a silent warning to those who might follow in his footsteps. The echoes of his downfall reverberated through the kingdom, a chilling reminder that the pursuit of power at any cost leads only to ruin. The kingdom of Israel scarred by violence and betrayal, was left to pick up the pieces. The people, burdened by the weight of their recent history, began the arduous task of rebuilding their lives and their nation. The scars of Zimri's reign were not easily healed, and the memory of his tyranny lingered in the hearts and minds of the survivors. Yet amidst the ruins there was a glimmer of hope, a determination to restore what had been lost, and to forge a future free from the shadows of the past. Zimri's name became synonymous with treachery and the fleeting nature of ill-gotten power. His legacy was one of infamy, a cautionary tale that warned of the perils of ambition unchecked by morality. The ancient scrolls and statues that depicted his rise and fall served as enduring reminders of the consequences of his actions, ensuring that his story would not be forgotten. His story, passed down through generations, served as a cautionary tale, a reminder that the path of wickedness ultimately leads to destruction. The storytellers of old would recount the tale of Zimri, ensuring that each new generation understood the dangers of allowing ambition to overshadow virtue. Through their words, the lessons of the past were kept alive, guiding the people of Israel towards a future where justice and righteousness would prevail over the temptations of power and greed. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up and share. And if you haven't already, come on over and join our family by subscribing to our channel. May God bless you and all your endeavors. Thank you for watching.